different. Did you change something?
Yes, we renovated.
I just remember the floor was super cold.
Still it is.
So wir heißen bei uns willkommen. His Holiness Bhakti Ananda Ketamahaki. So now, please.
And once I was, a few years before that, I had a flight out of here, and you hosted me for one night at your place.
Ah, yes. Okay.
That was just for a few hours. Basically, I arrived in the evening, spent the night, and then the next day I went to the airport.
Right.
Oh, you remember that?
Yes.
Oh,
Maybe you could tell us where are you mostly preaching? Where are you coming from now? I was not.
Sure. Hare Krishna. With great pleasure, I shall introduce myself to you. So I was born 2 years ago in Croatia. Maybe some of you travel down there for a summer vacation on the Croatian coast. Contacted devotees quite early in my life.
1 second, sorry.
Oh.
Will you do the translation? Who will do?
Ja.
So the Arash, ne?
Das Deutsche?
Ja, du machst es in Deutsch. He will sit there in the corner and er macht es in deutscher Sprache. Von Englisch. Er spricht Englisch und er macht es in Deutsch. In der Ecke da bitte. Wer immer das braucht, möge sich dazu in den jungen Mann da in den grauen
Brauchen wir Übersetzung ins Russische, von aus dem Russischen ins Russische?
Ich glaube nicht.
Okay.
So we're having just one translation to German, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Fewer translations, the better. Easier. Prabhuji, if I speak too fast or if you for some reason missed something, totally feel free to pause me, like no problem whatsoever, yeah. And I tend to speak a bit faster when I speak English. So I was born almost 52 years ago in Croatia. Maybe some of you visited the Croatian Dalmatian coast. That's where I was born, that's where I grew up, that's where I came in contact with the Hare Krishna movement. And at the age of 19, I became a brahmachari at a temple in Croatia. And then some years later, I was invited to join a group of devotees to travel to the States, and by Prithu Prabhu. Invited few of us to come to States and help with some service, and of all of these devotees in the group, I was the only one who stayed there. I stayed there because in the meanwhile I started what eventually became a very successful program. You might have heard of it, Shastra Dana. It's a gift of Shastra, Shastra Dana. And at its peak, we were distributing, I can't remember how many books, but it was a lot of books. That was a long time ago. So that's how I ended up staying in the States. Eventually, I ended up at our temple in San Diego, where they made me the temple president. I served as the temple president for 13 years. You might have seen a few days ago, His Holiness Badrinaran Swami passed away. So he was my GBC. We lived together for those 13 years. Yeah, that was Hare Krishna. Deep emotions.
And then you took sannyas.
Yeah, and then at the end of those years of serving as a temple president, I took sannyas, which was a process that was started 10 years before that by my Guru Maharaj, because he felt I should take sannyas. And then once I took sannyas, I started to travel almost all the time. I was traveling also quite intensely before that. And so I travel in 4 different parts of the world, and I tend to come to each place once a year. So like that, I'm in Germany also once a year. And I was in Hamburg, I think it was 2019 or 2018 or 2017, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Prabhupada came to Germany only twice.
Twice.
But you come more often.
Yeah. It's very impressive how Prabhupada went to some places like Russia only once and made such a lasting impact. So that's a short bio of my lowliness. And as it was ordered to me, I guess I'll sing Jai Radha Madhava for a few minutes, and then we'll move on. Is it okay if I change the scale on this one?
Yeah, you check.
I think we can do without this. It's loud enough. shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai shri gurave namah. Ancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I mean, to speak anything on the transcendental subject matter is a matter of great responsibility, but I think it's multiplied many, many, many times when the task is so difficult as to try to communicate something appropriate about a personality such as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I have to tell you, it's quite a challenge, and every time I feel petrified. Maybe I took to a wrong profession. But by the mercy of all of you present and all of my other spiritual teachers, maybe I shall manage to say something appropriate. In the history of religion, this personality, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, really stands as very, very, very different, quite obviously very unique. They say that there is an important difference between cognition and recognition. Cognition refers to a mere sensual input, like things you see, things you hear, things you may feel with your tactile experience, like that. But to understand means to interpret. What have you seen? What have you heard? And this is very important. What's interesting in regards to this incarnation of God, actually, to be very precise, we don't even say that Mahaprabhu is an incarnation of God. We say this is Krishna himself. There's something very peculiar about this manifestation of God. Because in some ways, God comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because God does not understand himself. Which, you know, first time if you hear this, it may sound quite bizarre. Like, typically God is described as an omniscient being, someone who knows everything. But here we have a very interesting claim that God himself does not know himself. And so he comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in order to know himself. And so a core element of the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could be said that in order to know, you need to love, which is typically what people would tell you exactly this is what not to do. Like if you want to know about something, you should be coldly objective. But here we have something quite different. It says, no, in order to know, you need to love. That product of love is deep knowledge. If you love, you really get to know deeply. And so, this is basically Krishna consciousness. Like you can get to know few things intellectually. and you can explain few things intellectually. And while explaining, you could be emotionally removed. But if you really want to know what Krishna consciousness is, well, you need to love. And so in this way, the claim is, in order to know, you need to love. And there are descriptions in our literature where Krishna himself is wondering, like, what's so great about me that these devotees of mine are losing their minds over me? And so in order to understand himself, he needs to love himself the way his devotees love him. And so Krishna himself comes as a devotee of himself. And this is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The manifestation of God we celebrate today. Just one interesting detail you might have seen, or maybe I can ask you, how many of you have seen a painting of baby Krishna sucking on his toe? Did any? Okay, few. Okay, quite a few. You never seen that? You have. You also have. Yeah, it's a famous painting of Krishna laying on a banyan leaf as a baby, and he's sucking his toe. Believe it or not, this is a painting of great theological importance. Because in this painting, what we see is God trying to understand himself. And the great teachers in our line say that while doing this, baby Krishna is posing very similar question that Krishna himself poses to himself when he comes as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is, what is this nectar in my feet, my lotus feet, that devotees are finding? So many devotees like to keep this painting as... in one way, we could say that here we also witness a great, great respect of Krishna towards his devotees. Very interesting. So, if we go back to that idea of cognition and recognition, in terms of what Mahaprabhu is saying, we can imagine a situation that two different people are looking at the same thing and having a vastly different experience. And now, I don't know for what reason, but it just came to my mind and I couldn't get rid of the thought as I was trying to think of a suitable way to present Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I thought of this one chapter in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita where this vast difference between two experiences is portrayed. This is, I think it's Madhya Lila. Let me see if I have it written anywhere. No, I didn't. But I could swear it's somewhere in Madhya Lila. Amoga Lila. Where's Amoga Lila? Anyhow, if you want to reference it, this is in the story of Amoga in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So what we find in this chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita is a description of spiritual world on this earth. Here we have Krishna himself as a devotee, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, associating with other devotees. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at that time was living at Jagannath Puri. Any one of you made pilgrimage to Jagannath Puri, perhaps? No. No one. Really? Super rare. Oh, you have one. Okay. Very new. Typically at least half a temple. Well, it's a very special place to visit because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there just mere 540 years ago. And so there's a lot of places there that commemorate his life and pastimes in that place. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was at Jagannath Puri, and there devotees would visit Jagannath Puri from Bengal. If you know Mahaprabhu's history, so he appeared, or if we were to speak in terrestrial terms, he took birth. He was born in Bengal, but after he took sannyas, he relocated to Jagannath Puri, the holy city of Jagannath Puri. And while residing there, devotees from Bengal, where he grew up, the people who were there with him all of his life, his first devotees, so to speak, his most intimate associates. So they would come every year down to Jagannath Puri and with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu celebrate festivals such as Ratha Yatra, big festival. They would sing and dance before Lord Jagannath, go through all of the spiritual emotions of this festival. They would really enjoy life. They'd be swimming in the lakes, dancing before the Lord. Every morning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go see the deity of Lord Jagannath. And then when, after the early morning aratiks, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would leave Jagannath and go to see Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur is another very intimate friend, a devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was of a Muslim origin. Even nowadays, for some reason, at Jagannath Puri, they have this sectarian thing put in place where unless you're Hindu, you cannot enter. So Haridas Thakur wouldn't go to the temple, but then Jagannath himself, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, would every day come to his home. Actually home, not a home, bit of a hut that he was staying in. And every day spend time with, every single day, with Haridas Thakur. And then it is described how then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go to his own place where devotees had him reside, and Mahaprabhu would sit there and start to chant Hare Krishna, as we would say, chant japa. And then Srila Advaita Acharya would come, and Advaita Acharya is another one of his devotees from very intimate friends and devotees from Bengal. He would come and he would bring, while Mahaprabhu would chant japa, he would bring different paraphernalia like flowers, scented water, incense sticks, and so on. And then he would worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like he would offer him these items in an act of worship. And then he would smear sandalwood. Did anyone of you ever grind sandalwood? You have? Only one. 2, yeah. 3, 4, 5, yeah. It's a piece of wood, and you grind it on a rock. You put a little bit of water or scented water, and then you grind. And when you get a paste, you use that paste to decorate the deity. This is like in the West, people express love by kissing you. Like mother kisses you, husband and wife kiss, and so on, like that. But every culture has its different ways of expressing love. So here devotees express love for the deity by smearing the sandalwood, typically on the forehead, like this. And so Srila Advaita Acharya would come and do this to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he would smear sandalwood on his forehead. And then when he would finish, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, God himself, would take whatever flowers and incense was left over, and then he would start to worship Advaita Acharya. And he would chant a mantra that he made up. Whoever you are or whatever you are, I worship you. He's making fun. And then even while worshipping, Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that with his mouth he would make some funny sound. So that Advaita Acharya would laugh. While being worshipped, he would giggle like, well, what is this guy doing? So this was... Just like Bhagavad Gita, it speaks of a great intimacy between God and a devotee. Chaitanya Charitamrita speaks of even a greater intimacy between God and a devotee. Like here we have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally visiting Haridas Thakur every day. Then he would receive worship from Advaita Acharya, but then he would worship him. And in a funny way, completely breaking all of the rules of worship. Probably annoying the hell out of those who are very strict about their about their rituals. Making up a funny mantra with which he would worship him. And then Chaitanya Charitamrita describes how these devotees would then celebrate Janmashtami. Because in that period of time, while these devotees from Bengal were in Jagannath Puri, they would celebrate Janmashtami, a big festival. That is the day that commemorates the appearance day of Lord Krishna, or we could say his birthday. A huge festival. And then devotees, it is described how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dressed as a gopa, or a cowherd boy. And then all his associates, his friends, would also dress as the cowherd boys. And then it is described how at the festival they arrived, and you might have seen this in India, how people carry, women typically carry weight on their heads, but men would carry a stick over their shoulder. Even now in India you can see this. A stick over the shoulder, and then on both ends of the stick there will be 2 jugs of something, or 2 bags or clay pots, something like that, balancing each other. And that's how they arrived at the scene. Completely immersed in the pastimes of Krishna and his cowherd boys in Vrindavan. And in this way they had fun. And then at one point, Advaita Acharya approaches Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and says, oh, you are a gopa, a cowherd boy. I will believe that you're a cowherd boy if you can do some tricks with a stick. Because if you know, cowherd boys always carry a stick to herd their cows and calves, and because they have sticks in the hand all day, night long, therefore they learn how to do tricks with the stick. Something like in the West when we have marching bands, and typically in front of a marching band there is a person that has a stick and it twirls the stick. You have that in Germany? Maybe not in India. Or maybe you do it in India outside. Yeah. There's a name for that person, is it? Oh, I just heard you say something in German.
Sorry, I think the word stick is the same in German.
And in English.
The stick, I think stick is stick.
Yeah.
But my English is not.
Yeah. And my German is catastrophe. So I don't know. I mean, I did notice that a lot of German words are exactly the same as in English. And by the way, German and English are what they call them, cognate languages, like they belong to the same or group of languages. Mahaprabhu said he took up the challenge and he took a stick and he started to twirl the stick in many different ways, tossing it up in the air, catching it up in the air, throwing it behind his back, between his legs, and he was so good at it that everyone was just cheering and applauding and shouting. It was a big festival. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so expert with the stick, and so then Advaita Acharya had to admit, you are an amazing cowherd boy. And so similarly, when the time came to celebrate Ram Vijaya, then they all dressed as monkeys, behaved like monkeys, hopping around, enacting the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra, in this way enjoying each other association. There's description how in one point Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went aside and had a talk with Lord Nityananda, and it was a mysterious talk, but everyone knew what they talked about. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu many times told Nityananda Prabhu to not come, because he had an important mission to do in Bengal. Lord Nityananda was the general in the missionary army of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Among other things, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a great missionary. And so in this way, the time came. They passed their time, and the time came for devotees from Bengal to return to Bengal. And so as they were about to go back, it was a very emotional scene. They have a hard time parting from each other. And as they're about to part, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu points out one devotee, then another devotee, then a third devotee. And as he points each devotee out, he speaks of the devotional service of these devotees, of the amazing things that these devotees that no one knows. But he knows. And in this way we have this, love-saturated situation. He's thinking of Vasudeva Datta. He's revealing to all of the devotees that Vasudeva Datta approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and asked him to transfer all of the sinful reactions of all of the beings in the material world onto him. Let me suffer all of the sinful reactions of all of the beings in this world, but let them go back to Godhead. Quite exceptional. Then he's thinking of Raghava Pandit and the offerings he makes, and I don't want to take too much time, but he's thinking of Shivananda Sena, where he is saying Vasudeva Datta's bad with money. You, Shivananda Sena, please be his, what do you call the person? Treasure. Be his treasurer. Because he's so bad with money. Whatever money he gets, somehow or other he spends on Lord's service, while his family is at home hungry. He's not good with money. You please be in charge of his finances. So taking like very personal care about these devotees. And on and on and on. And so eventually they manage to part ways. And with a heavy heart, devotees return to Bengal. And so now this is an amazing opportunity. An amazing opportunity for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma is a devotee from Jagannath Puri. He lives there. And so now when all the devotees from Bengal have gone, he's thinking, here is my chance. Because there were so many devotees, I have not had a chance to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the way I wanted. And here's a great opportunity for me. I have to tell you one little incident I experienced while serving my own Guru Maharaj. I was traveling with him, and we came to this one place. I've never seen devotees so eager to serve. Like typically, every day I would go into the room of my Guru Maharaj, take his laundry, wash it, dry it, and return it to him. Like that was one of the services I would do every day. But when I was at this place, I took the laundry, and then I took it to my room, and I closed the door. As I close the door, I hear a knock. Knock, knock, knock. I open the door, and a devotee says, Hare Krishna, and he jumps. Jumps onto the bundle of laundry, because he wanted to steal it from me, so that he could wash it. And I'm a lot taller than him. So I physically restrained him. And I had to, all along he was smiling. And I had to push him out of the room and close the door, and then I locked the door. And so as I was locking the door, I see through the window a big stick from another devotee trying to fetch the laundry, to pull it out the window so he could wash it. And it was like this every day. I had to fight for service. I've never seen people so eager to... And by the way, I may tell you, this was at Pune. Back then, there was a small temple, but it was a very healthy nucleus. And those of you who have been to India now, it grew into a humongous community. But I know why. Because he had to fight for service there. Amazing place. So Sarvabhauma felt, here's my opportunity, a great opportunity. And invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come to his home for lunch every day for a month. And Mahaprabhu said, well, I'm a sannyasi, I can't come to your home every day and eat so much. Sannyasi is supposed to live a simple life. And then Sarvabhauma said, well, come for 20 days. Mahaprabhu said, no, 1 day. Then Sarvabhauma falls onto the ground, holds the feet. Oh, we need more room.
Yeah, you should move.
Yeah, if you, I guess the message is if we could all move that bit forward.
Noch mehr.
The point at which Sarvabhauma falls down at his feet and he's begging him at least 15 days. So in this way, he's negotiating with Mahaprabhu. And then eventually they settle for 5 days, if I remember correctly, something like that, some few, small number of days. And then Sarvabhauma builds a prasadam hall for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. A new prasadam hall, just so he could feed prasadam to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so the day came, the first day for Mahaprabhu to take prasadam at his place. He walks in, Sarvabhauma walks him in, and he sees a humongous amount of prasadam of all different kinds of variety, many, many different types of food that Sarvabhauma, actually his wife, and Sarvabhauma helped his wife. The two of them, they made. Mahaprabhu is really impressed. He says, whoever offers something like this to God must be a pure devotee. Sarvabhauma wants him to sit where Krishna is sitting. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't want to sit there. Sarvabhauma quotes Shastra. You may know this verse. Uddhava said this to Krishna, that by wearing the garlands you wore, by eating the food you ate, by wearing the clothes you wore, we shall conquer the illusory energy. And so he quotes this verse to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's arguing with Mahaprabhu. And so Mahaprabhu agrees to sit on the asana that was meant for the deity. And he starts to honor prasadam. Of course, at first he didn't want to, because he felt it was too great of an amount. But Sarvabhauma said, you're Krishna himself. In Jagannath Puri here, as a deity, every day you had 64 offerings. In Dwaraka, 16,000 queens every day feed you. This is nothing for you. This is a small amount. So Mahaprabhu agrees, and he starts to take this prasadam. And at this point, so by now we have the whole chapter being drenched in the sweetness of the relationship between devotees themselves and also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And now comes something way different. A person who externally is also a devotee is looking at all of this. This is the son-in-law of Sarvabhauma, by the name of Amoga. And he looks at this and he says, what is this? Here is a sannyasi eating so much food. What kind of a sannyasi are you? And Sarvabhauma saw his son-in-law criticize Mahaprabhu, takes a stick and wants to beat him. His son-in-law, being younger, sprints off. Sarvabhauma tries to catch him, but to no avail. Sarvabhauma comes back and he's apologizing. Oh, please forgive me, I invite you as a guest to my house to feed you prasadam, and then I offend you through my son-in-law. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, no, don't worry. What he said is true. And mind you, what Amoga said, it is true. Sannyasis shouldn't eat so much. And Mahaprabhu himself says, this is true. So we have two people looking at the same thing and having a very different experience as to what is going on there. Somehow or other, what Mahaprabhu says, it's true. Yeah, it is true that it is true that sannyasi shouldn't eat so much. But there's more to the picture. There's the love between the devotees there. There's the relentless love of Sarvabhauma that's trying to feed all this prasadam to Mahaprabhu, who relents, not because he is weak, but because the devotion of Sarvabhauma is relentless, knows no breaks, knows no walls, knows no reason. He's arguing with Krishna. And Amoga does not understand any of it. All he sees is that there is a sannyasi eating too much. Is it true what he saw? It is. But there's so much more to it. And so then the next day, the news comes to Mahaprabhu that Amoga, somehow or other, has developed a disease, intestinal disease, from which nowadays no one dies, but back then people used to die from it. And immediately Mahaprabhu gets up and goes to Amoga. And I'll read to you, let me see if I...
Raja Lila 15.
15th chapter, yeah.
15th chapter.
No, I didn't. I thought I had it. No, I didn't. So I'll have to paraphrase it some or other. I forgot to paste the exact statement. What Mahaprabhu told Amoga is, you are a Brahmana, and the heart of Brahmana is supposed to be pure. How did you allow this witch to reside in your heart? And then he told him an interesting thing. Because you're associated with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, you're purified. Get up and chant Hare Krishna. This is no small thing what Mahaprabhu said. You're associated with Sarvabhauma, therefore you're purified. And this is, mind you, in this chapter stated twice. When devotees from Bengal were returning to Bengal, Mahaprabhu glorified one specific family, two brothers. And he said, they have purchased my heart forever. Why? Because they wrote a poem. And in this poem, they express their undying devotion to Krishna. And Mahaprabhu says, because of this, I'm yours forever. And then Mahaprabhu goes to say that even the dog in your village is dear to me. And then now, sometime later, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying the same thing to Amoga. Sarvabhauma is a devotee of mine, and he's so dear to me that even a dog in his village is dear to me. Because it's in his village. I don't care what the dog might be, but because the dog is in his village, dear to me. So, you are related to Sarvabhauma, you're purified. Get up and chant Hare Krishna. At which Amoga gets up, chants Hare Krishna, and all of a sudden he's freed from this disease. We could say a little miracle from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but that's a little. The great miracle is the change of Amoga. And now, for some reason, now Amoga can understand the situation which he previously criticized. Now previously he didn't understand. Now he understands. He's chanted Hare Krishna, he has had some appreciation for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and now he understands. And then he starts to slap his face, like really hard. With this mouth I have spoken stupid things. With this mouth. And Gopinath Acharya, another devotee there related, grabs his hand and says, okay, it's good enough. It's okay. And so in this way, in this chapter, and this is not the only time in Chaitanya Charitamrita where we have a stark difference between two people having same cognition but very different recognition. We could say that in a perverted way we could turn this particularly and say that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, does not understand, like he sees himself. But in order to understand himself, he needs to love himself like his devotees. And then when he comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we find this love of saturated with devotion. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was an amazing scholar. Like Bengal at that time was Navadvip especially was the center of academia, academic intellectual center of India. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dominated it. But his life is not characterized by his scholarship. but by his love, by his devotion. Devotion to Krishna, devotion to his devotees, and the devotional dealings with all of these devotees. Amoga did not have access to this. And we could say that in this way also, our mission is, yeah, sure, we have some theory to teach. But our mission is to experience love, to experience the Bhakti Yoga, the devotion. Then we shall understand. The example that Srila Prabhupada often gave is that of honey. Like honey, you can get to know lots about it just by looking at it, the color, the texture, whatnot. But if you really want to know, you have to taste it, like that. And we could say that this is the mystical aspect of religion in general, and definitely of Krishna consciousness in particular. Om Tat Sat. Are we doing time-wise? Do we have time for some questions or comments?
I was reading about the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it was astounding that he has the capacity to purify people and put them into the condition of love of God just by touching them or talking to them or what. He had this mystic. He was a Bhakti mystic. So I was wondering. There is a story that when he is talking about Gopi, the names of the Gopi, and they criticize them, and then he decides I have to take sannyas. So I was wondering, he has the capacity to change, like Amoga, he changed Amogas, he changed the idea of the sannyasi, Mayavadi sannyasi. He changed everyone.
Yeah.
And he just make like this, and then they change.
Yeah.
Why it's necessary to have the sannyas? It was not. I sometimes I don't have anything against sannyas, but I was wondering why it's for him so important. The sannyas, he can do anything he wants.
I think you have just identified one of the most problematic questions you can put to religion in general. Like often people say, now why do I need to learn? Like why do I need to go through all the experiences? Why doesn't God just make me a pure devotee? That's very much the same question. That there's heart of it is the same. So, but what we find in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that for some reasons there are exceptions, but the rule is that Krishna doesn't seem to interfere too much with the independence of the soul. In other words, there are certain decisions that are autonomous to the soul. In other words, the soul, the individual, has to make those decisions. Now, we do find certain statements that indicate certain level of Krishna's involvement into messing with that independence. Like, for example, there are several statements that I can think of that say if a devotee wants another person to become a devotee, then the super soul in the heart of that person makes arrangements, favorable arrangements, to put that person in situations where the person would likely develop interest for Krishna consciousness. For example, and when I speak of Krishna consciousness, I don't mean any specific tradition, just like universal love of God in whatever tradition. So I cannot answer your question why. I see the mechanism, but I don't know why. And in the history of religion, I haven't heard that question answered. As a matter of fact, what is the discipline that concerns itself with the goodness of God? What do you call that? There's a term for it. Now it escapes me.
Mercy.
No. There's an academic term. When people discuss the goodness of God, basically you put God on trial. There's an academic term for it, but basically this is the situation where people put that to God, like, why don't you just, like, why do I need to struggle? Why don't you just make me a pure devotee? I give you, I'll sign the paper, violate my free will. I have, I met one devotee, unfortunately, Prabhupada disciple, who developed he became addicted to alcohol consumption. And he was a devotee who tried to chant and all of that, but he couldn't resist the temptation. And I remember one day he fell at my feet, and I don't know why my feet, maybe I just happened to be there, but he was holding to my foot, and he was begging me, help me, help me, help me. And he was saying, why is God doing this to me? Now that's a very difficult question. I can recite all the standard answers, but they're of a cyclical nature. In other words, they still don't answer the question why. I'm not saying there is no answer. I'd like to hear it myself, but it really, it asked for an entrance into the God's mind. Thank you. If anyone else would like to take a crack at it. Okay, anything else? Yes.
I was thinking maybe we can see this because it's Lord Chaitanya's pastime. Maybe it's like a pastime, or maybe it's like a rasa connection with this devotee.
With which devotee? With Amoga?
No, the last that we were speaking about,
She tries to answer the question.
Okay.
Because sometimes we cannot understand why these things happen, but Krishna knows, and we have a special rasa with him, or maybe it's a pastime. In this situation, it looks like a pastime because Lord Chaitanya, he has his associates, and so maybe we can see like this, why it's happening.
Yeah, definitely. Very often when we hear of some special souls, we find out, special souls, people, individuals who were recipients of something super special, we typically find that in the previous life or something, there was something special. So there was a special connection, like Jai and Vijay becoming demons, and then returning back. Okay, anything else perhaps? Yes.
Gave us also this Shikshamrita verses, and there he was saying that one should feel lower than a straw in the street, because this is very important for us how to come deeper into the chanting. And sometimes I was asking myself, other persons also, how to getting in this really state, in this special mood, because it's very important for us to realize the chanting and tasting the chanting. So maybe you can inspire.
You know what? I feel like a dog's tail. The dog's tail is always curled up, and then Prabhupada says if you take it and stretch it, it's straight. But the moment you let go, it curls up again. That's how I feel. I'm the worst person to ask that question to. But I have to testify that few times when my world fell apart, the world of my pride, due to the jagat, due to the constant moving of the circumstances in the material world, things that were elements of my pride, some or other were taken away from me. And I was in this, externally speaking, horrible position. But spiritually, I was never as happy. Okay, and I think because I had just a glimpse of what's it like to chant Hare Krishna in a humble state of mind. But as soon as I was rejoined with elements of my pride, I was back to my good old self. Not quite as bad as before, but maybe that's the key. Maybe that's how we go. Thank you for that meditation. All right. What? Guru Puja? Okay, excellent. Thank you for your attention. Hare Krishna.